Am I the asshole for leaving after being told to be quiet at dinner? The title probably makes it sound worse than it was, but I'm still conflicted. My F21 boyfriend, M24, of almost a year, invited me to dinner with his family. Mom, dad and his 16-year-old brother. Never met them prior to that. The only thing I knew about them is that they're conservative and Christians but lovely people. And they were. I got along really well with them. Before dinner, they were lovely and talkative. When it was time for dinner, my BFF's dad wanted to pray. After praying he said something along the lines of, "Let us dig and let the food keep us quiet." This is a pretty popular saying in our country, mostly told to young children in school. My understanding of this has always been that you shouldn't speak with food in your mouth or be extremely loud at the table. I wouldn't say it's a cultural thing, though. I dug in, took a bite. It was fish soup. Absolutely delicious. And you know, like a good guest I wanted to compliment the cook. "This is delicious, is it saffron? A perfect autumn soup." My BFF's brother looked surprised. My BFF's father hushed me. Big time. A really aggressive shush with a finger over his lips. And then he said, again, "Let the food keep us quiet." I apologized because I thought I had accidentally spoken with food in my mouth or something. But a few minutes passed and nobody said a word. Super awkward and weird, especially since they had been so talkative before. My boyfriend was also unusually quiet. After a few minutes I was too weirded out and asked about their day, and how nice it was that they invited me there. And his mother did the hush thing? So awkward. I think this is when it clicked, no speaking at all at the table. Let the food keep us quiet. Really quiet. But this was a super awkward situation, and I couldn't deal with that. Imagine sitting at a table with 5 people, everybody eating soup looking dead serious. So I laughed, it just slipped out. Ended up being told off by BFF's parents that I was being disrespectful, etc. And if I didn't respect how their household worked I could eat alone in the kitchen. We were eating in like a separate dining room. I thanked them for the food and left to the hotel me and boyfriend stayed at. My boyfriend later told me that was an asshole move, that I should have just kept quiet or eat alone in the kitchen. I understand their family traditions and rules, but it was so weird. I just couldn't take it anymore. Was I being an asshole though? Not the asshole. He could have warned you and given you the opportunity to skip dinner because you don't dine in monasteries. Also, you are not a 3-year-old to be sent to the kitchen to eat alone. Not the asshole. Your boyfriend should have warned you before going. How does that meal even help you meet them? I feel a different activity would have made more sense. Not the asshole. Your boyfriend is the asshole for not warning you that his family is weird AF. Not the asshole. Your boyfriend should have warned you in advance that you weren't allowed to speak at the table in his family. And when it came apparent that you didn't know that was a thing, they could have calmly explained except of shushing you or sending you to the kitchen like a child. I would have left as well, to be honest. I would not want to be a part of this family. Am I the asshole for not giving 24 hours notice to my daughter's roommates before dropping something off? I'm new to Reddit, but my husband advised that I post here and is helping me write this. I am a mother to a 20-year-old daughter. She is a junior in college and attends school in the same city that we live. My daughter and 2 of her friends live in a condominium that I own. Her friends pay below market rent while my daughter does not. The condo was inherited from my parents and it was their intent that I would pass ownership of it to my daughter when she is mature enough to own her own place. My daughter, husband, and I are in agreement that she will take over ownership of the condo when she is out of school and financially independent. Earlier this week, my daughter mentioned that she had run out of some household supplies and would have to set aside time to go shopping before the end of the week. My daughter's schedule has been especially rough lately, as she has picked up extra shifts at her part-time job due to short staffing. Wanting to be helpful, I offered to pick up the supplies for her and drop them off at her place. She accepted. The next day, I picked up the supplies and took them to the condo. I knew my daughter was in class, so I knocked and, when no one answered, let myself in. The front door opens into the living room. When I entered, I found one of my daughter's roommates being intimate with a man on the living room couch. I was obviously mortified, so I left the supplies at the door and left right away. I didn't say anything to my daughter about what happened because I didn't want to put her in an uncomfortable position, but I did let her know that I had dropped off the supplies. On Friday, I got an angry email from the roommate's parents. I'm not sure exactly what they were told, but their email lambasted me for invading their daughter's privacy. They said that what I did was wrong because I'm their daughter's landlord and I entered the condo without giving 24 hours notice. They're threatening to take legal action if I do it again. I am vaguely familiar with this requirement, but didn't think it was applicable here. Was I the asshole in this situation? I feel bad about what happened, but I also don't feel like I was out of line. Edit. My daughter was aware that I was coming to drop off the supplies and asked that I leave them in the kitchen, which is adjacent to the living room. Edit 2. I am not asking for judgment on whether I violated the law. I checked in with a friend who is a lawyer and he thinks that, because my daughter gave explicit permission to enter the home and drop off the supplies, I'm in the clear. I am asking whether I was the asshole for doing so. And #X200B. Update. I called and texted my daughter asking to discuss the situation. She can't speak to me right now because her roommates are fighting and she's mediating, but she is aware of the situation and sent me a quick explanation. My daughter had notified all the roommates that I was coming over, but roommate 1 apparently forgot. The man she was with was roommate 2's boyfriend. She freaked out and contacted her parents because she was scared I would spill the beans. I still don't know exactly what she told her parents, but I assume it wasn't the full story. I have never met roommate 2's boyfriend, so I didn't know it was him. Roommate 1 and roommate 2 are fighting now and, needless to say, roommate 1 will be moving out. I will be writing a more comprehensive, formal lease for roommate 2 for both my protection and hers, but, in all honesty, roommate 2 is wonderful and I do not anticipate that there will be any problems. Is there a formal lease? I would be of a mind that if they want to treat me as a landlord, I will charge market rent. Not the asshole. People who live with roommates should know not to get busy in shared spaces. This isn't legal advice, but any laws regarding restrictions on landlords entering a leased premises wouldn't apply to you when you weren't acting as a landlord but rather as an invited guest of a tenant. Do the roommate's parents think you have to give 24-hour notice if you visit your daughter? And why are this person's parents contacting you anyway? Is she a minor? A minor having sex in your living room? Unless she's a close friend of your daughter's, I'd be looking for a way to evict her because her parents are going to make life hell for everyone. Not the asshole. My mom is my landlord as well, and in this scenario, the only person I'd be pissed at is roomie for fucking in the common areas. Am I the asshole for kicking a girl I didn't know out of my wedding? My husband and I, both 27, got married a few weeks ago and he obviously is still upset about it, but I don't think I was wrong, so I thought I would ask here. We only gave +1s to married couples or if we knew the significant other well. My husband has one childhood friend that was coming from out of state to attend. I've met him a bunch but only his girlfriend of 3 years a few times because of the distance. I didn't want to give him a +1 but my husband begged since he was traveling and didn't know anyone else at the wedding and he didn't want him to be uncomfortable or have to travel alone. I said fine just to make him happy. Flash forward to the reception, I see him with some girl I have never seen before. I asked husband what was up and he told me that his friend and his girlfriend broke up a few days before the wedding and since he already RSVP'd as 2 he brought a friend with him. I was pissed since I made an exception for him and I didn't want anyone random at my wedding. I had one of my bridesmaid go to him and tell him he could stay but can his date please go back to the hotel, this is a private event. He said okay and didn't make a fuss, but he left with her and didn't come back. I though on everything was fine and had a great night. My husband found out about it the next day and we got in an argument. He's mad because his friend traveled and I kick him out without talking to him. I didn't kick him out, just his date. Now it's a few weeks later, my husband still brings it up from time to time and his friend hasn't been answering his texts. I kind of feel bad, but it was my wedding and I didn't want any strangers there. You are the asshole. What was the actual harm of this person being there at that point? And he had a +1 and it is unlikely he knew you gave him a dispensation on your special day. This comes off as power hungry and controlling. You responded to perceived rudeness with the ultimate rudeness. You kicked someone out, which, come on. You knew her date was going to follow, so you booted your husband's friend. You are a ginormous awe. You are the asshole. You were so concerned about making the wedding perfect for yourself that you ruined it for your husband. You are the asshole. You gave him a +1 and he used it, and then you were rude and revoked it, during the reception. His +1 did nothing wrong, wasn't causing a drunken scene or anything, and you got offended because she existed. Sorry Bridezilla, but you are the asshole, face with rolling eyes. You are the asshole and hopefully a soon-to-be ex-wife. Am I the asshole for crashing my ex's mother's funeral and telling his children I'm carrying their sibling? My ex's mother and I were very close. I knew her from long before I started seeing her son. I saw her as my own mother. We kept close contact up until the end. When I found out she'd passed, I was devastated. Her funeral was yesterday and I went without receiving an invite. Didn't know you needed an invite to a funeral, but I guess this is important for later. If you didn't get it from the title, I'm pregnant with my ex's child. Unfortunate situation since he's back with his wife and things are tense, but that's the current situation. I was going there just for the funeral and to pay respect to an amazing woman who was treated me like her own child. I even sat at the back so as to avoid getting attention. However, attention came and my ex's wife came to me saying that I was not invited and crashing the funeral, so I must leave. Luckily my ex's older brother intervened and said that I was welcomed. The only problem is that after this he basically forced me to sit further in the front, literally put his arm around me and led me to the front despite me saying I was fine, to sit in the row reserved for family, directly behind my ex, his wife and their kids. While people were looking at the body, open casket, their kids saw me. They came to hug me and noticed my stomach was big, so asked if I was pregnant. Their mother butted in and made a snarky comment like, "Yes darlings, she just can't stop making them. Mind you, I only have one other child, so this comment was purely just to make me sound like some loose woman. But still, I bit my tongue. The youngest then asked if the child will have my red hair and her mother scoffed and under her breath said something like God forbid. So I was like, maybe, but your dad has brown hair, so the baby could just look exactly like you guys since the baby would be their younger sister or brother." Their mother overheard this and immediately called the kids back to her. I left as soon as the funeral was over. I got a call later that night from my ex saying that I was an asshole for telling their kids about the baby without talking to them first and told me to stay away from his family. AITA? Edit. There was no affair. They separated. We dated. They decided to get back together. We broke up. They both already knew about the pregnancy before the funeral. You had every right to go to the funeral. Were I you, I would have waited until after to visit the grave, but to each their own. You are the asshole for dumping drama while talking to the kids. You could have easily sidestepped the children's question with a, "Wouldn't that be nice?" or, "We'll have to wait and see." You didn't do that. You chose instead start some shit.